Just a comment that I would be starting with just taking questions from people who are attending here, and then later on I'll take some questions online. So welcome.
Just a question. So we're going to have the online session afterwards, right? Within an hour or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah. I was wondering, because I thought about that, and I was wondering if I remember that Francis Lucille used to also take questions, and but what he did is he summarized the question from the online.
Mm-hmm.
And turned it to everybody around and said, so this is the question.
Okay. That's
so
a good
I'm wondering,
idea.
because then that doesn't break off that energy, that the intimacy, I guess, the intimacy.
Okay. Okay, so I will make sure later on when there are questions online to restate them best I can. So we're looking at the question both online and here.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
I have a question right away. Somebody's not sharing.
Okay.
I wonder if you could talk about emotions.
About emotions.
Emotions. I'm fully aware that emotions is a sensation, a bodily sensation. But I think that in many ways it runs our life in so many different ways with the identification of the body and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder if you can speak a little bit about that.
So the question, for the people online is about the emotions. Emotions run our life, and we know that there are sensations. They still run our life, right?
It is a big factor in one's life.
Yes. Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's helpful to understand that to a certain extent, emotions refer to bodily sensations. In other words, there is an aspect of emotion where it's strictly somatic, strictly sensation. Whether it's in the chest, in the face, in the neck, or the whole body, there is an aspect of emotions that is completely neutral, that we can call a sensation. So it's good to have that understanding. But when we are experiencing emotions, we're not experiencing just a sensation.
You're not experiencing.
We're not experiencing just a sensation. We're experiencing a sense of threat. Something is threatened, or something is at stake, or something is at risk, or something imminent, something could even sometimes feel dangerous is happening, whether to you or the extended self, your family, your friends, whatever, your nation, your tribe. So there is not just the sensation that is unfolding, there is also a certain identification, a certain sense of something that is valuable, that is being threatened or might be threatened. So this is what we refer to as the me sense, the sense of person, of the identification. So you could say that an emotion is at one level a neutral sensation. that is being witnessed, that is appearing at the body-mind level. But when there is the identity, when that sensation is now relating to some identification, this sensation is no longer a neutral sensation. It becomes a feeling, an emotion.
But it is just that an emotion seems to come so fast. There's no contemplation about it. There's nothing, no feeling that, there's an identity in it. It feels completely subjective.
It feels very solid. Yes, completely subjective. It doesn't seem that there is an identity in it, but there is. Because an emotion, when we're talking about negative emotions, whether it's fear, jealousy, anger, depression, loneliness, whatever it relates to somebody. It's not, I am feeling fearful, I am feeling depressed, I am feeling anxiety. It relates to somebody. So there is an identity. And it's true that in general it arises very fast. But as your contemplation and your interest and your inquiry deepens and becomes more important for you than feeling better.
But what about emotions? Trish and I have often talked about. Trish laughs. And it was very interesting because yesterday you said, not yesterday, felt like yesterday, but a week ago.
Yes.
You said we have different bodies and different body reactions. And Trish and I are good friends. Trish laughs, I cry. But you said that is really the body.
Right, but that's not an emotion. Huh? To cry or to laugh is not an emotion. An emotion refers to it refers to somebody. You say laughter or crying can be just a spontaneous expression of the body, the way the body is at this moment expressing itself or manifesting or being. There isn't any personal reference to the crying or to the laughing. So yes, different body minds have different compositions, different ways in which they manifest, they express. But an emotion is different from just an expression of the body. There is a psychological dimension to an emotion. There is a sense of danger or something's at stake, or there is a sense of an imminent doom arising in the space.
But the psychology, isn't that a mind thing, though, eventually?
Is a psychology a mind thing? Well, to perceive yourself as anything is an image, right? Yeah. If you're perceiving yourself as a soul, you're perceiving yourself as a person, you're perceiving yourself as the invisible man or woman. It's still an image. And images are mind, yes. So psychology is mind, yes. We could say that in presence, there is just presence. There isn't any psychological realm. In terms of your question about emotions, more than understanding what emotions are and how they arise, or have a model, because it's really a model that I'm presenting of what emotions are, is to how to be with emotions, how to live in the emotional realm when the emotional realm arises. That's more significant for us. And it feels like it comes, very quickly onto you, and it's a big wave. It's not just a small wind over the ocean. It's a big wind. And usually when there is a big wind and there is a strong emotion, there isn't much to do. After the fact, you could sort of lick your wounds or reflect upon it, but at the moment of the emotional expression, there isn't much to do. But we can contemplate after the emotion, or we can contemplate like we're contemplating now. What is going on, or what's the dynamics when there is an emotion arising? What is the whole emotional realm? The emotional realm always refers there is something at stake. Something at stake. There is something at stake. For example, I'm alone. Okay? I don't feel lonely, I'm alone. But when the thought arises that being alone is, I'm going to shrivel up and dry out and be like an old 100-year-old lizard if I'm not loved or loving, you say. Then there is a sense that there is some sense of danger, you see. Or if I'm in a relationship and my partner goes in a different direction, okay? And I feel that there is something valuable that I'm losing, therefore something, I'm going to be diminished. There is some sense of personal loss, you see. And this is, if you look at the emotions, this always is, it relates to somebody, it relates to me, yes? Now the question is, of course, now we don't have any negative emotions, we're sitting here nice and quietly, is as long as the emotion relates to somebody, and we have the time here and the leisure and the relaxation to contemplate that, we can ask ourselves, to whom does this arising relate? Okay, it relates to me. I am the one who's afraid. I'm the one who's jealous. I'm the one who's angry. I'm the one who's feeling sad and depressed, blah, blah. I'm the one who's feeling lonely. It relates to me, right? And so we ask ourselves, possibly we can ask ourselves the following question. We say, well, the whole thing seems very real, is very real. And we're not here asking ridiculous questions. We're asking questions that really are meaningful to us. They're pertain to our life. So what is the reality of the emotion? The reality of the emotion is, I'm feeling like crap. Okay, we don't need to go any further. Okay, fine, I feel like crap. Now, what is the reality of that is feeling crap? Well, it's me. I am feeling like that. So we investigate, and this is at the core of the inquiry. We investigate, what is this I, what is this self that is the target, that is the subject of these emotions? This is the investigation. This me, this person, whichever way you define it, whichever way you imagine it, because you have to imagine the person for there to be a person. Without your imagining, there is no person. You have to imagine. So you're looking at your imaginings, whichever way you're imagining the person to be. How real is that person? It's a good question, because if it's real, then I am doomed. When the emotions arises, I'm real, and the emotion, I'm not gonna, sweep it on the rug. I'm doomed. That's it. And we just, okay, end of conversation, okay, right? But if it's not real, let's look at it. So we say, what is real across time and space. You agree? What is real has to be across time and space. It cannot be real at certain times of the day, or certain times of the year, or certain times of the month, or certain situations, and less real or not real in other situations. So if it appears and disappears, it's like a weather. It's mind. If it appears and disappears, it is mind, right? But if it's constant, then it's not mind, it's something else. Whatever it is, we call it reality, truth, you name it. I don't care what we call it. Okay. So we look at what is it? Is this me constant? So we say, well, we look right now. What is the me right now? You see, what is me right now? And if we come upon something that is constant, that is across the board, end of conversation. So the me, how does it appear to you? You ask yourself. For me, the me appears to me as a thought or an image or a sensation, a memory or a thought, a sensation, a feeling, you want to call it, whatever, it appears as something. And I know for sure, for certain, all of us have the experience that in deep sleep, that the me doesn't appear. Or at least it's so low that this radar doesn't pick it up. Right? So the me is something that appears, and sometimes it doesn't appear.
Do we have any control of that appearance at the time it appears?
Well,
I want to just give you an example. You're driving on the road, Randy. You have it go to you. You're a little bit late. All of a sudden comes this car.
Yeah,
right?
Cuts you off.
I mean,
a car cuts you off, and the me gets triggered. The question is, do I have any control over that? Well, before we go into that question, it's a good question. Do we have any control over the me arising? Let's just continue with our inquiry. So the me is something that appears and disappears. Whatever appears, disappears. Right? And whatever appears and disappears is not eternal, it's not constant. It's mind. So therefore, the emotion, which is a sensation, is relating to something that's appearing and disappearing, meaning it's changing. So there is a dancer dancing with another dancer. Right? There's a dancer dancing with another dancer. They're both dancers. And sometimes they dance like this, sometimes they dance like that, sometimes they're not dancing. Sometimes there is nothing on the stage. Right? We all know that. Sometimes we're cool, we're just hanging out, smoking whatever we're smoking. All is cool, right? Right? And then there is the biggest dancer of all that comes and they're doing the great bolero and whatever they're doing, And then it dissolves and then it's like a little melody. Right? So when you look at it, it sounds to me like it's just weather. It is weather. So the sense of danger in what I just described, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. So when we contemplate, what is it that is in danger? What is it that is at stake? Because we do feel that there is something at stake. We're not going to deny that. But when we do the contemplation, when we do the inquiry, when we look at that, we realize that it's just mind. Mind is like a dream. It's a waking dream. But it's a dream. One minute I'm thinking about my mother, and I'm thinking, next minute I'm thinking about when she used to beat me up when I was a boy. She didn't. I'm just being silly. When she didn't give me the candy that I wanted, and I'm going, really, she was like so rude, so tough, Second later, I'm thinking, when she made me those sandwiches, I was a little, I love her. You follow? It's the weather. So the mind is like the weather. So you are concerned in your question, which seems to be like a very important question about the emotions. Your question is about the weather. You asked me about the weather.
But that means that there's an acceptance.
Oh, there's understanding.
There's an acceptance.
Well, I mean,
mind, no.
You want to argue with the weather?
No, that's what I'm saying. It's an acceptance.
Well,
rain comes.
Wait. It's not an acceptance. It's not an acceptance because you're not apart from the weather. Right. The weather and you are not two. They're not separate. Right. The entire realm, manifest realm, and the body-mind realm are not separate. And you, whatever you is, okay. But I'm not defining it. Whatever the I is, because there is something that's real. That is something that is, which we call I. That what is, and that appears. You can't separate them. You can't separate them. So there is no acceptance. You're accepting something.
Yeah, I understand.
Right.
There's an object. You're accepted, no accept.
Right. Yeah. No, your question was about, is there any control, I think you said, or about somebody cuts you off in traffic and the emotions arise. Right? Is there any control over the emotions? Well, I would say that when there is a certain a relaxation in your being, you're going somewhere on the road and you have to be there by 10 o'clock and it's 9:58. You have 2 minutes to make it and somebody cuts you off, delays you by 15 minutes. Right? You're going to be late to the meeting. So what? I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to lose the opportunity. I'm going to lose the interview. I'm going to lose blah, 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 blah. There's something at stake, you know? But yes, so we lose the interview. We don't get the job. We don't get whatever. So what? Can we accept that?
Yeah.
Can we accept that? Okay, we're going to an important meeting and we're going to be, because somebody cut us off in traffic, we're going to be 15 minutes late. We may even get reprimanded. Can we accept? So what? Can we accept that as that situation is happening, all is well? Because if you don't accept that as the situation is happening, all is well, then every situation that does not meet the perfect order of your great wisdom, you know, how you see everything, is gonna be, you know, right?
Yeah, and this here, Magdi, because it happened to me on the way here, so I'm late. So the car comes ahead, you know, in front, and he kind of slows down, and immediately this emotion, and I spin a story. And the story is, I'm going to be late in satsang. Magdi will already be here. I'm not going to get the chair next to you because I have that ear damage. It spins this story.
Yes.
Yes. Just like you're saying.
Yes.
So obviously, there immediately is something at stake.
And the story that's spinning when somebody cuts us off in traffic is a me story. It is within their thoughts, right? What we call a story. Okay. A series of thoughts, you know, they're like, you know, they're all lined up and they, you know, it's because you're not experiencing a story. You're only experiencing this thought, right? It's like
I'm not experiencing the story.
No, you're only experiencing the thought, this current thought. And as the reel is spinning, you say, oh, it is a story. And the story is me. The story is just the illusion in me. There is no story. There's just this split second is too long. There is the timeless. It's just the eternity of the self. So the story, you say, I'm experiencing this story, you actually, let's say you're experiencing just this frame, and then this frame, next, that frame is gone, next frame is up, and so on. You're experiencing frame per frame. What we call a story is a series of thoughts that are spun, and the axle of the spinning is the belief that it pertains to me. There is a personal self, that these thoughts are personal. They refer to a person, and there is a person there that needs to be safeguarded, that needs to be, you know, well taken care of, pampered, blah, blah, blah. You see? That's what a story is. So, but the story, you don't contemplate that, in fact, there is just this moment of perception. Then you become prey or victim of the story. In the story is the you, the image of you that has been spinning for the past 75,000 years. This is spinning, yes. This is the story. At some point or the other, you need to see. There is no story. There is no story. There is just this current, timeless, what I call awareness. Okay, you can say the timeless self or timeless presence. But it doesn't matter which way you put it. Put it your own words. You follow?
Yeah.
So you say, is there any control? Well, in the lack, when there is an absence of clarity or understanding about what's going on, yeah, there's no control. We are being controlled. The we is just the character in the story, and the story is running. And it has past, a present, and a future. And the story is ongoing. But when you are coming to the contemplation, you come to satsang and you're contemplating truth. It's a different thing than being interested in your story. It's a different thing than being interested in your emotions. It's okay to have questions about emotions and to look at emotions. But there is no way outside of the emotions as long as whatever thoughts are arising are pertaining to a person. Because as long as the person is in the alley, is in the behind the curtain, everything that is appearing is pertaining to that person. And when you are identified as a person, you're experiencing a sense of limitation, a sense of incompleteness, a sense of lack. It's automatic, it's immediate. A person has a beginning and an end, is an appearance in time and space. So when there is an appearance in time and space that you're identified with, you will experience all the negative emotions. Of course, the core emotion is the fear of death, the fear of extinction, you see. So you will find yourself reverting to addictions in order to fill that sense of core angst that we have. And one of the ways we cover it up by various habits, whatever, sex, food, substances, activities, thinking, traveling, exercising, or whatever. I mean, we try to cover it up, but you can't cover up the bottomless pit, So it's exhausting. 70 or 80 years old, you're a real wreck, you're a real mess. It's true. A real mess, because the body has been registering all this nonsense and has been diseased.
I like what you said about the danger aspect, because we all know we have emotions, sadness, loneliness,
Yes.
jealousy. But until you said that, I wasn't aware, but there is a danger aspect of that big time. Every time we experience those emotions as well.
Yes.
Because it's like seriously threatened.
Yes.
Something seriously threatened. But
Absolutely.
you don't notice that because the other emotion kind of, you focus on that more.
Yes.
I guess just watching that,
Yes.
those two things arise
Yes.
is
Yes.
pretty much what we can do.
Yes. We experience a sense of danger, or something is going to be lost, or something is at stake. This is the core of the emotions, and it's a contraction in the body, and we feel like, you know, something may happen, something might happen.
I don't think I was aware of the danger aspect until you brought it up, and since you brought it up, I realized, yeah, every time I have those emotions, there's a danger aspect.
Yeah. Yeah.
A threatening.
Yeah. Yeah, and
it's more like a core. It's even below the emotion, I think.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It is below the emotion.
Yeah,
it is below the emotion. It's a sense of self, the sense of separation.
Core self.
Yes.
Issue, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
And one of the ways, one of the sadhanas in the contemplation of the self is as much as possible to remain still. You know, the non-action. There's a practice of non-action. Non-action doesn't refer to physical activities. It refers to this inner, remaining still innerly, in the face, in the midst, whatever the words are, of these emotions.
Yeah.
Because it's important to experience firsthand the emptiness of those emotions, that there is really nothing at stake. But you cannot experience that there is nothing at stake when you start immediately running away, or blaming somebody, or blaming yourself, or whatever, trying to fix it. Yeah. These evasive methodologies prevent you from piercing through this illusory sense of danger, this illusory sense of imminent doom. So this is like the teachers sometimes they speak about, you need to die into the emotion. They use that term to because what dies is the belief that there is something at stake, you see. And we maintain this, you know, we go into meetings sometimes, but we come to the meeting not just like as a fresh presence. We come to the meeting, we're bringing with us, am I gonna get it? I hope I'm gonna get it, you know, we bring in with us this internal, you know, and we're so habituated to it, we don't realize it. But it's there, and it's so it's important to see it, and you have to go. You have to be still in the midst of the emotion to see that it's just all empty. It's all
it's natural to just run from it, avoid it, try to fix it, do whatever.
Yeah.
And I thought we were running from the emotion more so, but now I see we're running from the thing.
Yes.
That's what I think.
Yeah. And that's how the sense of self maintains itself, is by seeking, avoiding, you know.
Even trying to meditate it out of it, you know.
Or meditate yourself out of it.
That song out.
Or meditate yourself out of it. Yes. Yes. So there is the contemplation, you know, one of the sadhanas is the contemplation of death, that in some schools, and sooner or later we have to contemplate the death. Death is the fact of, you know, a fact of the death, of the ending of this dream, the ending of this body, the ending of this personal self. And when we think about how much in our life we're living protecting ourselves, when in fact we all know so freaking clearly that this whole thing is going to kaput any day, you know, and we say, well, after I get this, after I get this thing that I need to get, then I'll deal with that issue later. And so you're running, you continue running, postponing your freedom and your happiness. And in the midst, because you know you want happiness, but you're saying, well, I've got to deal with this now, and then I'll deal with the happiness later. You know, in the middle of you dealing with that, you're dead. In the middle of them, you're dead.
Yeah, right. Just as bad as that. Yeah.
I noticed that in the same subject, in terms of emotions, kind of going through this thing about with my brother, who's not been particularly inclined to reach out. It's, in a way, it's a difference in our basic program. So I have thought that somehow I've been the one who's been active in reaching out. He doesn't do that. And I've always been the one, and then it sort of became this kind of program. Like, I'm the one who's reaching out, etc. Particularly as you come to holidays. So, and finally, I've come to realize that, or slowly realize it, that it doesn't matter, that I really don't have any idea what he feels. If we never saw each other again, that would be that. You know, it's like not like it's all up to me to make something happen.
Yeah,
and
right.
that gets to something when it's seeing the doesn't matter part. It's just freeing.
Yeah, yeah, right.
I mean, I realize it's just some kind of program that I've got it. I'm somehow keeping all this stuff together.
Of course,
you can't do that.
Of course. I mean, the personal self is, you could say, is a series of program, or one very complex program.
Yeah, it is a complex program.
Yeah. But you know, when we say it's complex program, it sounds, oh my God, how am I going to debug that program? But it's empty. It's hollow. It's void. And yes, your brother is.
Well, it's a completely different being, and I have no idea what he actually thinks or feels. You know.
Yes.
I mean, you don't have much to go on with that with people anyway.
Yes.
What do they do?
We honor people's freedom, right? We honor people's freedom, and of course, we extend our love to our brother and to everybody, you know. But we honor their freedom to navigate their journey, whichever way they can. And of course, if somebody comes close to us and is open to us, then we as good friends, we are there, available to them in whichever way we can. And the best way to be available to somebody is to be in the contemplation of truth, so that you're not available as a personal self and you're maintaining each other's virus of identification.
I see the mind rushing ahead to say, well, this would imply this, or I don't know that I can live with this outcome or this realization, none of which means anything.
Yeah, right. It's just, you know, old repetitive habitual thoughts that arise, and you know, at some point you see that just like echoes, you know, old echoes.
You know, I was driving home from Michigan last night, I guess, the night before, and there's all kinds of traffic. People cutting me off, doing this and all that stuff. And my thoughts go, you know, and there's a part of the thinking that thought, oh wow, and there's this like kind of intellectual knowing now that, you know, this is this being provoked, this is the same as, you know, now I know this is old programming from when I was a child, you know, being treated unfairly, you know, I'm driving nice and somebody's doing this, you know. Yes. And of course, the other part, though, being more of an observer now, yes, says that, okay, so I'm making judgment and comparisons, you know, that I have no truth about. I'm just making them. So they're relating to the past. So there's a lot of habitual stuff going on, or maybe conditioned stuff going on. And I may be wrong. Yeah. I mean, it certainly may not be intentionally cutting me off.
Right.
But they're not, I can do all that psychology. But you said in one of your videos, which really struck me and I resonated with, because I've experienced that in this, and that is the idea of really having direct experience with yourself, dissolving the personal. And basically, opposed to identification is, you know, where do you place your interest? So it's always falling back to who I am. It's starting from that point, and I see that, you know, and And yet I see the habits, the body, and I let that
Yes.
go too, because
Yes.
I see that too.
Yes.
I thought, don't judge me, because the next thing I do
Yes.
is judge me.
Yes, yes, yes. They're arising, you see, and the arisings, as you said, the thoughts that arise. There is the thing about being dispassionate about the
Yes,
arising.
yes,
So
yes.
there is arising, but our passion is not with the arising.
Yes.
So right, where you put your interest in, we're passionate about reality, about truth, and so there is the being to perceive whatever is arising from an impersonal place, from like a witnessing, neutral witnessing place. Yes,
Yeah.
and so you can experience their vacuity, the emptiness of the arising.
Yeah, and the relaxing,
Yes.
I think, just becomes more natural
Yes.
because of
Yes.
the truth
Yes.
really appearing.
Yes.
That it really is, and so even the conditioned body starts to relax,
Yes.
and it's it's not any different than in some ways when you go to therapy and all that, and you begin to see certain things, and you begin to relax because you can think certain thoughts, or certain thoughts might come up. Oh, that's my past, or something.
Yeah.
But there's still a me that then comes up and says, I've got to do this.
Mhm.
But in witnessing,
Mhm.
so to speak,
Mhm.
witnessing or knowing
Yes.
who I really am, okay, that relaxing, that natural condition comes up, and there is no need to attach to what's not real.
Yes.
And
Yes.
but and so for me, it's letting go of the self-judgment or comparison. The same. I do it with me as with others, so it doesn't really matter because all the characters are there.
Right.
And,
Yes. Yes.
and I'm another character judging it and all that.
Right. You can
It's crazy.
experience
It's insane.
you can experience whatever is arising from a place of stillness, non-action, from the place of non-action. And when there is a need for action, the intelligence is there. You will find yourself acting, doing whatever you need to do. A child is hurt, you're walking by, you don't need to think about it. The action will be there, you see. So you can trust that the appropriate response, the responsibility will flow through you. But the contemplation of non-action in the face of the arising, I'm talking about psychological arising, the illusory arising of the me and the other, or the me and me now, me tomorrow, you see.
And the sensation for me of it taking over the whole body,
Yeah.
And then if there is a reaction that then is not really helping me, and it's not helping the situation.
Right, and when a reaction arises,
then I see that too, and so I have to let go.
Right, and
I have to let go.
we don't, when there is a reaction, then we don't need to judge it because, in fact, it's gone. It's to the principles of impermanence. It's so beautiful to contemplate that in fact there is nothing. There is really no past outside of the current thought that says there is a past, but that's not even past. That's present. So yes, to understand that all dissolves, all arising dissolves, arises from the self, dissolves into self. Yes, like in night dreams, they arise out of you, they dissolve back in you. There's really nothing happening, you see.
I have a tactical question.
Yes.
18 months ago, you infected me with this notion that there's no such thing as time.
Yes.
When you first said it, I thought you were crazy.
Yes.
Physicist.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Not
yes.
this jibber jabber.
Yes.
And then you conceded that in fact there is a perception that something happens after something else.
Yes. Yes.
And I thought, oh, he's not crazy. It means something. So for all of these months, in literally every moment, I can think, happened before this, and I can't find it. It happens after this, and I can't find it. But I'm furious. I'm joyful.
Yes. Yes.
I'm
yes. Yes.
rolling my eyes at you, get out of my head, crazy old man.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Even then,
yes.
every single time, I can't see except
yes. Yes.
But only when even at the most rageful,
Yes.
it's still just this little hint that there was nothing before.
Yes. Yes. There is no before. You see, outside of.
So what am I supposed to do with that now?
Yes. Good question. Good question. Very good question. Very good question. So, what's it?
Can you tell the people online what his question is?
Oh,
Because they may not
yes,
hear it.
yes. And I was asking the question that she realized that there was. She's a scientist, and she realized that there is no. That we had talked that there was no time. That in fact her experience, when she looks for before, there isn't a before. When she looks for an after, there is no after. And in the midst of any experiences that she's having, even if it's a rageful experience, that's the understanding. And the question is, what do I do with that now? Yes? Did I? Okay. And that's a very good question. Very good question, because, you know, the contemplation of the Dharma is has many facets to it. You know, like you can look at like an elephant from one angle. It looks like, but there is much more to it. Yes. So there is no before outside of the thought, which is current thought right now, that says there is a before. There is no after outside of the thought right now that arises in this moment that says there is an after. And even the emotion that says, you know, there is a before, there is an after, is just arising, you know, right now without a before and after. Now so that brings us to, there isn't a before, there isn't an after, so therefore there isn't a now. Because the now, when we are looking at the now, is there is a before and after, and then meeting at the now, yes? But if truly there is no before and there is no after, there is no now. So therefore the question comes, well, what's happening? What is this? What is this? Okay, which brings us to, okay, fine, okay, the mind is not there now, it can't move. You can't wiggle your way around what I just said. His mind cannot wiggle its way, so the mind comes to a standstill. But the question may arise, and so that question that says "and" is coming from the old program of time, because that question "and," in a way, it's saying what's next, or it's saying, what do I do with that? It's coming from the old paradigm. So that question is coming from the old paradigm. You need to understand that. So you see that this question is actually not a question, because it's coming from the illusion of time. But it's arising, okay? And we're looking at it, and we're seeing, we're seeing the mirage of the question, sort of a question arising, yes? But we cannot say there is nothing. So okay, fine, I got you, my mind is frozen, okay, I see the question is coming from the old paradigm, I see that it's a mirage, there is really no question, but I cannot say there is nothing, and you're right. We cannot say there is nothing. We cannot say there is nothing. But what is it that there is? What is it that there is, and how can what there is be comprehended if there is no mind and if there is no time to comprehend it? So if there is, in fact, no time to comprehend, and there is no mind to comprehend, because mind and time come hand in hand, then there is nothing to comprehend. But there is nothing to comprehend sounds like some sort of denial or vacuity, or some sort of nihilism. Okay? Some sort of nihilism. But when we say there is nothing to comprehend, there is another way of comprehending that besides nihilism. The way it can be understood besides nihilism is that whatever there is to comprehend is already comprehended. Say, well, okay, I understand. Okay, so it's comprehended. Who's comprehending it? You are. You are comprehended. You are the comprehender, the comprehended, and the comprehending. And when I say you, I do not mean Emma. I mean the you that has no name, no word, the you that speaks, the you that is speaking, the reality that right now hears these words. Whatever that is that is undefinable, undefined by the mind, cannot be spoken of. We're speaking in the dream right now about something that is not in the dream. Okay, but that's the path. That's how the play is. The play is that we come into the dream, we speak in the dream about that is not in the dream. And that is not in the dream is the I that perceiving this dream, that is not perceived, that has no name, no age, that cannot be comprehended, but yet it comprehends itself. It knows itself as I am, not I am this or that, as the I am. And the I that is not in time and space. Therefore, it is not in a beginning and ending realm. It is not in the realm of manifestation. It is not in the dimensional realm. It is not in the phenomenal realm. It is denoumenal, and all phenomenal impressions are impressions that arise from the noumenal, to the noumenal, by the noumenal, within the noumenal, without any impression arising. Impressions arise without arising. And the experience of that I am, that is comprehended, that has the comprehension within itself, that is comprehension itself. The experience of that is what we refer to as the bliss of the self, or peace and happiness, or Satchitananda, the wholeness of being, the transparency of being, borderless presence. I refers to that reality. Whenever we say I, although habitually we've been referring to an I in time and space, there is only one I. It refers to that is beyond any division, that cannot be divided, that cannot be called mine or yours, that cannot be owned, possessed, that cannot be negated, had, or rejected. It is an inner recognition. I recognize I. There is nothing outside of I that can recognize it. It is an inner recognition of the self recognizing itself. Any questions? So, I received your question that you sent me via email, and I'm going to read it now. Hello, Magdi. Yes. It is now completely seen and understood here consistently that I am not a separate self, body, mind that appears and believes itself to be who I am and calls itself me. Everything seen and all feeling, thoughts, and sensations are only appearances in consciousness that appear to me awareness. An illusion made up by consciousness. Okay. This recognition brings freedom, peace, and happiness. It is all I have ever dreamed of. Like God's embrace after coming home. Beautiful. I am awareness. Everything appears in, but cannot be labeled or fully described in words, because I am everything and nothing beyond the mind, conceptions, imaginations, or ideas. Yes, yes. I once heard a speaker say, don't build your house on the bridge or outside the gates of heaven. Don't build your house at all. And don't just be a visitor to this, go all the way. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Very, very well said. And because the separate self is still appearing and has not completely disinterested yet, this phrase comes back to me. Could you say anything about this and why the separate self is still appearing?
It just says before that the separate self's not disintegrated yet.
Okay, not disintegrated yet. Okay.
Yeah, not completely.
Oh, yes, yes.
Appearing.
Yes, the typo has not completely disintegrated yet.
Yeah.
So please say anything about this and why the separate self is still appearing. There is still some interest in the person. There's still some interest in the I as I am, I, a person. And because that interest is there, the I will arise as a separate self. There is also and I think that's more apt to your question, given what you wrote before your question. There is also within the body post understanding. I refers to consciousness, to the self, to that is not phenomenal, that there is only one true I, one reality. And that I refers to that And this understanding starts to percolate itself in your life, in your relationships, in your activities. At the body level, there is also a process, which I've talked about a few times. It's a very important process of also the sense of being a body, mind, being a man, being a woman, being somebody, being a person, being a father, being whatever. That this sense also has a sort of nested within the body in various ways, in various manners. And that there is a process that follows the understanding, and that process takes certain time, and it takes rubbing against life. Life sort of will come and trigger those remaining senses of personhood, will appear to you, to poke you in the places where you respond personally, where you take things personally. We take things personally when we feel there is something at stake. There is something at stake, and that's when the person arises. Because in fact, there is no person, but there is these places within the body that are protecting. They've been sort of, the body has molded itself according to a personal self, and has places within it that are protecting itself, while in fact the body is infinite transparency and is endowed with all the intelligence it needs to operate in this temporary realm, which has the purpose only to awaken to the self and not to maintain the body as a vehicle. Only a vehicle, the body is only a vehicle. So I suspect that there are vasanas that are still being triggered, for you. I would suggest that you see these triggers as the universe helping you out to release them out of you. So as they arise, remain still. Don't approach them with your old habits of avoiding or thinking, because thinking is a way of also avoiding. Sort of, let's open the beehives and have all the bees come out and so they distract us. You need to remain still and recognize that these emotions, these feelings are cloud-like, and they're arising in the vastness of being. Allow them their complete freedom. And remain still unconcerned. And in time, they will arise less and less. And there will be less and less disturbing, if at all. That's the path. Unknowingly, you will find yourself at some time at peace. And there are yogas that are helpful for at the body level. And again, Shiva is here. He can help you with that. Just text him or something like that. That help you with releasing these sensations into space.
Thank you, Magdi.
Okay, yeah, Nick, I saw your comment. Mind wants to claim and say, "Ah, I got it." What is this I that got it? In a way, when the mind says, "I got it," it wants to maintain itself. It wants to jump, say, "Hey, here I am, I got it, I got it, I got it." It's a clown, Thank you. It's only interested in imitating consciousness and getting the applause, but it doesn't even exist. It's not the real actor. There's only one reality. That's not the mind. The mind is something you experience. There are thoughts, sensations that you experience. The you that is not what appears is the reality of what appears. Like in your night dream, the dreamer that does not appear is the reality of all what appears in the dream. Ananda, I just saw your comment. Let's see if I can get it. Okay. 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 Talk to you later about this. Any questions?
This time, I actually put pen and paper because I wanted to get exactly what it was you said. You said, I perceive all of this. It's about perception. I perceive this, but I am all that I perceive.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you said?
It's possible. I don't remember what I said, but okay,
you can
I
again
perceive.
say, no, so in another word, you can say that the world is in me, so to speak, from that perspective. But all that I see is,
yes, is myself.
Is myself. That's
yes.
what you said.
Yes.
So all I perceive is myself.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That is a pretty profound statement if you want to elaborate it.
One way of understanding this is that listen to some explanations, you have to experience what is being shared, is that in this very moment, what you are perceiving is your perception. Meaning,
Did you say all I perceive is my perception?
What you are perceiving right now is your
my
perception.
Right.
You're perceiving your perception, yes. You're perceiving perception. Meaning you're perceiving a perception that is yours, meaning it's very intimate with the perceiver. So the perceiver and the perception are not apart. If the perceiver and the perception are apart, there is no perception because they're apart. You follow?
Yeah, but what about perceiving?
So perceiving refers to the perceived and the perceiver being one. So perceiving means refers to the wholeness, to the indivisibility of consciousness. You could say that consciousness is perception. No, I wouldn't say that, because the way we usually use the term perception is in subject and object. So at the mind level, our understanding of perception is that we're perceiving in time and space. So the term perception has been bastardized by ignorance in referring to a separate object and a separate subject that are in a relationship, which is referred to as perception. But a separate subject and a separate object are separate. And it's not possible for there to be perception between two separate objects. Perceptions means that the object and the subject have met or are one.
Would you say the same thing about the experience? The experiencer
Yes.
and the experience is one.
Sure. So you could say that what's experienced and the experiencer are one in the experience.
In the experience.
As the experience.
As the experience.
As / in the experience.
Yeah. And so it goes with all seeing, hearing.
Same thing, seeing and hearing. So seeing the object, what's perceived, and the perceiver are one in the perception. So whichever way you spin it, whichever sense you take or nonsense you take, you're gonna be coming to one. They're one. Mm-hmm. They're one. One. So you come to the one.
Could you say then, so as the seer, I see all this, and it comes back to me as just this one?
No, because I would say that as the seer, I'm seeing myself. I'm not seeing all this. Or you could say I'm seeing all this as myself. It doesn't come back to myself. I'm seeing it as myself. But what matters is to understand that our experience is non-dual. That duality is a belief, and a feeling. We feel that there is a separate self and there is an external world. But in fact, in truth, in reality, there is no duality. So Advaita is referred to non-duality. It's not called oneness, it's actually called non-duality. Because to say oneness, what would say oneness? What would be standing outside of oneness to say oneness? And oneness, it is going to say oneness to whom? So we say non-duality. So you have to notice in your experience that in fact your experience is non-dual. So right now what you're perceiving is within yourself, so to speak. You're perceiving within yourself.
What would you say, as we say, the perceiver and the perceiving is myself, but then there's no self. So essentially, it's empty. because there cannot be anything in the awareness itself. It is it's not even myself. It's
you could say that reality is empty, and at the same time it's full of reality.
Right. Like pregnant.
Pregnant with reality.
Yeah.
The reason I'm saying that is the teachings of emptiness are not the end game. To come to the understanding of the emptiness of form is an important understanding, but you also need to come to the wholeness of being.
I understand, but I didn't want to go into the emptiness as this people. It is just that if I'm using your words, that's why it's so, to me, important that I get the exact what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
So then when I see, when I perceive this, comes back to me as the perceiver, as one, but ultimately I'm not there anymore.
Yes, you are there. You are there as consciousness.
How can I perceive myself as being there?
Well, you perceive your night dreams, don't you?
Huh?
You perceive your night dreams. Let's say there is a purple flamingo that's in your dream. You perceive it, right?
Yeah, I guess. I don't dream a lot.
Well,
but anyway.
I mean, whatever you dream,
yeah.
You perceive it, right? So you are there.
Right.
And when the flamingo isn't there, okay? When the flamingo isn't there, you still know you're there. And the proof that you know that you're there is because if I ask you right now, are you here? You would say, yes, I am. So you know you are.
But then I have to
I'm not asking you, are you in the room? I'm asking you, are you
but
here?
Then I am the dreamer. But then dreaming this dream. Because if I can empty all this, I am that space.
Yes.
In space, there's nothing there. Not even I, you, anybody else. It's just that space.
Yes, it's just.
So where do I fit in then? I disappear.
You as a dreamed character. You as a dreamed character disappear, but you as space do not disappear. You as a dreamed character disappear, but you as the dreaming space or as the space do not disappear. Hello, Maria. So, Maria, you're right. Hi, Magdi. I'm here with my sister in New York. Okay. She has a young 8-year-old child, and she feels antagonism. She is experiencing antagonism between them. In other words, between her and her 8-year-old child. She is concerned that he's always saying no. At what age do the kids say no? Is it too old? But yeah, that kid is delaying their no at 8 years old. Okay. She's concerned that he is always saying no, and she finds herself nagging him constantly. Parents can be such nags, can they? You know. Will you please help with perspective in the situation? Love the child. Tell your sister. Yes, your sister. Love the child. Give that young child the love, the space. Take it easy with how you want your child to be, how you want your child to behave. Of course, sometimes there are some situations where the child is saying no, and we need to say yes. Okay, so what to do in this case? I don't know, be creative. bribe the child. Give something in return. Negotiate. It can be a real pain to be a parent, I know. But listen, it won't last for too long. Next year they're 9, okay? And the year after they're 10. So yeah, that's how it is, being a parent is, you don't pick and choose your children, your kids, they are how they're dealt to you, Sometimes you have a bum hand, you have to, okay, I don't, wait, I don't, sometimes it's challenging. What did I say? I didn't mean, I meant it's challenging. And so we find a way to rise to the challenge, but it's important to be spacious, to be loving, to be understanding. And sometimes you give in, sometimes your sister has to give in. And by the way, Maria, thank God it's your sister's problem and not yours, by the way, because that's a good thing, it's true, because your sister has her karma, her path, her journey. And her journey, is sometimes to have an 8-year-old challenging the child, and maybe there are some aspects of herself that she can get to see, in her relationship with her child. But Maria, you're not your sister's keeper, or your sister's savior, or your sister's keeper. I understand you love your sister, and that's very good. Sometimes we can love our brothers and sisters, but there's very little we can do for them, because they may not be available, to hear from us some things, or the circumstances might not be available for us to. I know you live in Costa Rica and she's in New York, so you visit. Be supportive to her, and and see if within your sister there is a certain rigidity, sort of relax a little bit about the child, because I think you said she finds herself nagging him constantly. That sounds like quite a challenge. Find out what he likes, and see if you can give him what he likes, and promise him to give him more of what he likes if he goes along sometimes with what you need him to do. Anyways, good luck for your sister and for you, and it's nice to see you here. Yeah. Oh, she's here with you, sharing satsang. Okay. Did I say some bad things here? No, I didn't know. Okay, well, hello to your sister. And so if your sister wants to talk to me, then we can talk together. Otherwise, I'm speaking without knowing too much about the situation. It's a little bit difficult. So any questions?
Magdi?
Yes.
Hi.
Zoe,
Yes.
hello, Zoe.
Well, first I wanted to say happy birthday, happy non-birthday to Maria.
Yes. Oh, yes, yes. Happy birthday, Maria. Or, yes, or right. Yes.
Or non-birthday, or
Yes.
unbirthday.
Yes.
Anyway, gosh, when you were speaking with someone earlier, I guess it was Anne's question, and you talked about how life will, once we have this glimpse, then life will poke us and rub us so that we're triggered. And I was doing a lot of contemplating as I was driving back this weekend about my relationship with my sisters. And what changed this time was sort of like this understanding that this difficulty that I experience with them is purely love. It's like this image keeps coming up of resistance until I open my arms to it or open my heart to it and see, and allow it, like you talk about, like allow that.
Yes.
Really just allow them to be exactly as they are, which doesn't mean that I have to hang out with them.
Right. Right.
But it was like such an incredible shift of, wow, open my heart to them, because they're just my projection, right? They're just my own imagination.
And also it's true of your sisters and everybody that you relate and meet and interact with in life. And it's also true of everything that unfolds for you, in your life.
Yes. Yeah, it was huge to just sit with that and go, wow, the universe is so loving that it will continually bring this stuff up for me until I open my heart to it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. When we are loving truth, when we are on the path, when we have been blessed with the Dharma, heard the Dharma, and are contemplating the reality of consciousness, we realize sooner or later that everything that is unfolding for us, sometimes it seemed to be awful and very difficult and challenging, that there was something to that, that was part of our growth, part of our evolution, part of our path. And sometimes it takes a while, if ever, for the mind to come on board, to sort of stop repeating the old stories about people who did wrong to us and who were bad to us and how great we are, because it's usually the case. They're great and they're bad. So then we realize, oh my goodness, this tune is like some old broken record. It's not really what the reality of things are. There are no accidents. Everything that unfolds for you, even the most awful situation, is meant for you. So to open yourself to it, not this, as you say, this does not mean that you stay in relationships that are abusive. No, not at all. You will find that at some point in time, that's not a relationship that you want to maintain. And that's also wisdom. That understanding is also available to you in certain relationships. That's an important understanding, that yes, I have the option and the freedom to say no and to get away. And sometimes we don't have that option and that freedom, to say no, not just to like for example, in my case, you know, I spent so many years working way too much, and it took me a while to realize that I could say no to some jobs, and in coming to saying no, I realized that there was a fear about what's going to happen next. You know, what if I don't have this contract? You say, and I realized the whole unreality of that once I started walking that path. Yeah, so I have 5 brothers and 75,000 nieces and you know, it's a zoo. and they're all very strong personalities, and they have tribal alliances with this and that, and they love these and don't like those, and it's really so I don't know. I mean, now I'm like a duck in the water.
Yeah, boy. Yeah, it does. It's like such a great mind cleaning or whatever. It just really, there's nothing to grab hold of when you,
right.
yeah.
We can love them, but we don't have to live with them, you know.
Yeah. Oh.
Love them, but from
yeah.
a distance, sometimes it has to be this way.
And then there's a previous satsang, you said something that really struck a chord with me when Ananda was asking you what your experience is like. And you said it's like the deep sleep state, being awake. And as I contemplated that, I just thought, oh, there's no memory in the deep sleep state. Could you speak about that a little bit more?
I would say that there is only the memory that is needed. For example, I know exactly where the kitchen is, and when I'm hungry, I don't go to the bedroom. And when I want to go to work, I don't drive my neighbor's car because that would get me not a very friendly neighborly relationship. You know, in terms of the memory, there isn't a psychological memory. Meaning there is no personal self in the memory. There is no image of myself or you in the thinking around, in the meditation around. Same with the dream. In the night dreams, there is no psychology. There is no person in the dream.
Wow.
That's the being in deep sleep, in the waking state, or in the night.
In the night dream as well.
Being awake, as in deep sleep, you're awake. Yeah, both in the night dream and in the waking dream.
Wow. Thank you, Magdi.
Okay. So I would like to say that our true nature is that. Okay, it's nothing extraordinary. There isn't an extraordinary Magdi, blah blah. Our true nature is that wholeness, that transparency, that wakefulness, absolute wakefulness. It's not wakefulness versus non-wakefulness. Just wanted to say that. That's what the I is. And the I, of course, goes by all names. Yes, it goes by all names, not just like the name or Zoe's name, all names. And
yes.
It goes by no names.
Yes. As the veils seemingly get thinner, you said something also last week about who is speaking and who is hearing. And, all sound just goes back to silence, and Yeah, I don't know what I'm saying. Anyway, thank you.
Yes. Yes, if you look, for example, at music, there are music is like a vibration of silence
Mm.
in a way. I mean, just as a metaphor, that in the flute there is a certain vibration of the air that makes music.
Mm.
You know.
Mm.
Similarly, when you contemplate the reality of all appearances, you come to the stillness, you come to the formless self, you come to that does not appear. The reality of what appears is not non-appearing, is the non-appearance. And the substance, thus, of what appears is the non-appearance. And the I is that. I is that reality, is that non-appearing reality that appears as everything without appearing.
Mm.
Okay, Zoe, thank you for your question, Zoe.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any questions, anybody?
I just wonder. Sometimes I feel like when I leave here and I'm back in the phenomenal world. Okay. But there's always something that lingers.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm wondering is Trish, for example, does a lot of looking at Rupert Spiro and a variety of others who just have a paragraph, a daily paragraph. Doesn't have to be a lot. I was wondering if you would ever be interested in doing that to us, because
he does it. It's on YouTube. I told you.
YouTube.
I mean, on
Does
Facebook.
Magdi say have a daily saying? Or
Yeah,
something?
sometimes several.
I say too much.
No, but I'm looking for that, especially in the evening. I mean, I would love to be, because I'm used to your lingo now, so I would prefer to read you.
It's there.
It's just I'm not on any of these things, unfortunately.
But
But you are there.
You have to break down and use this.
Why don't you copy and paste and email it to her?
I'm not going to. She can go on Facebook.
Alright.
She was a professor.
Yeah.
She's capable of going on Facebook. She's highly intelligent.
Also, sent in for the usually he has something down there down below that I'm fucking faced on my dropping. Yeah.
Your daughter can
He's got
show you.
tons of material.
Huh?
He's got
Your
tons
daughter
of
can show
material.
you.
Okay, well, that is great because in the evening I am looking for some inspiration and fall asleep with.
Yes, yes.
Okay, cool.
Okay, well, very lovely. Thank you. Thank you all. Beautiful. Okay, online. Thank you all for being with us. Anne and Kate, Maria, Ananda, Paul, Shiva. So we
Ciao.
see you soon. Okay.
Thank you, Magdi.
Okay. Okay. Okay, Kate. Good to see you. Good to see you.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Yeah.